Welcome to Tentative Title with Tim. This is a podcast about creativity, about process, about filmmaking, and about screenwriting. Welcome everybody back to the podcast. I hope your week is starting off on a good foot. I hope that things are good wherever you happen to be in the world, whatever you happen to be doing at this moment. I just hope that you're doing well and doing good. So I've been working on a script for the last couple months, and I wanted to talk about the process that I'm in right now, where I've already written the crap draft. I've refined it a little bit, and now I'm to the point where I have to do some actual rewriting of the script. And I want to say that rewriting is a lot more about psychology than it is about the actual work. Because essentially, when you are rewriting the script, you are kind of admitting that there's failure there. I mean, you wouldn't be rewriting it if it was great, if it worked out, if everything that was on the page just is ready to go into production. And so I find it fascinating because I love the first couple steps of writing a screenplay. I love the excitement. I love the discovery of what the characters are going to do that I don't expect them to do. And then once it's time to go into revisions and to start rewriting, that's where I get the most resistance to the process. And the only reason is because of the fact that it means taking these characters that you already went on a journey with, and now you're either refining that journey or you're throwing out that journey altogether and having to kind of start over and go on a new journey with these characters. Which in a way can be a very good thing because you've already gone through it once or twice or however many drafts before that. Or, depending on if you did like multiple treatments or, how many kind of ways that you plotted out the script, if that's the process you decided to go with. But now it's getting into what you initially thought was going to work is not working, and now you have to go back into it and figure out a better way to have things happen, or sometimes it can be that you really need something to happen at a certain page. And yeah, I don't always like to look at my scripts in that way, where I'm trying to have something happen on page 30 because that's when Act 1 is over and we're going into Act 2. But I do tend to write with this idea that when I'm getting towards a certain page, I kind of the story itself tells me that some revelations need to happen, something interesting needs to happen. So something to kind of shake up the story needs to happen at a certain point, and that's for me that's just something that is very intuitive as I'm writing the script, or as I'm plotting it out on a treatment, where I just kind of I know where these turns have to happen. And so when I'm writing the script, I'm like, okay, it feels like we're getting to this point in the story where this big reveal is supposed to happen, or where this character's life is really starting to fall apart, and stuff like that. But sometimes the way in which I have those plot points happen is not as strong as they could be, and so I need to go back in and figure out a better way, a more economical way to have that plot point happen. But it's it can be tough to want to sit down and figure out how to make something better. And it's really just about the honesty of sitting down in the chair and looking at the script and being willing to start chopping away at it. And it can be really fun. And that's the other part of it that is so weird about rewrites, is that, like, I shouldn't dread the rewrite, because when I'm in it and I'm starting to move things around and I'm starting to discover more interesting ways in which characters are doing whatever they're doing, or the plot is unfolding in a more interesting way, or I always find something better every single time I go through it. And it's because I've the first draft, I'm getting to know these characters, I'm getting to know where the story is going, and then the next pass, I'm like, okay, well, I know that there are some things that need to be tightened up, and then the rewrite is just another way in which I can have fun, working with these characters and working with the plot. But it is very, very much a psychological part of the creative process, in which, like I said before, you're kind of admitting that pristine script that you spent so and so amount of weeks or months or possibly even years writing. You have to admit that now it's not as good as it was, and you have to go back into it, and you need to move things around, and sometimes cutting characters or combining characters, and it's just this ongoing process, and that process doesn't stop. So once you get into production, that's going to be another rewrite. Like, whatever you get on your production days, that it's going to be completely different than what's on the script sometimes. Things might have had to have been cut out or combined, or just however you were able to make your days. You might have had to change things in the script, which most likely you do, or you have to combine things, or locations fall through. There's any number of problems that happen in production that changes what the initial intent of what you wanted to happen in the script. And then once that's all done, and you go to edit the film, that's another rewrite. You're taking what you have, and you're like, well, in the script this was supposed to happen, but then on the production day this fell through, or an actor couldn't make it, or any number of problems. We lost the light, or we just any number of problems happen. And so you're editing the film, and you're like, well, now I need to look at it from an audience's perspective, and what actually works when I'm watching these shots being cut together, and how to put them together to gain the best the best kind of impact for the person who's going to be watching it. And each part of that process is very psychological. It's very much giving yourself over to the process, knowing that whatever you get, whatever it is that you've made, that you kind of have to be proud of what you've created, of course, but always accepting the fact that it's never ever going to be it's never ever going to be done. I forget who it was. It might have been Fincher again, but he talked about films not actually being complete. They're just let's see, what was the quote? Films are not completed. They're just abandoned. And so, and in some cases that's true. Like, you can only do so much on a film, depending on how much money you have, depending on how much time. Like, there's so many limitations along the road that with every step, you're just rewriting, and rewriting until you reach a point where somebody or says you need to stop and you need to put it out there, or yourself saying this is as far as I can go with this. This is as good as it's gonna get, and now I'm gonna put it out into the world. And the audience may or may not understand this process, because when they go to see a movie, they're expecting that is the completed work, because why would it be out in the world if it wasn't done? And we're starting to see, well, not starting to see, but like over the years, filmmakers have been doing their own director's cuts of films that were released by studios, but they had to cut things out for any number of reasons. And so when it's finally released, like on Blu-ray, they have the director's cut version and all that kind of stuff. And that's really great that filmmakers get a second chance, or third or fourth, depending on how much money you have and how much you're allowed to kind of tinker with the film that you made. But the process doesn't end. Movies that came out 30 years ago are getting new releases because the director decided that he or she wanted to make changes, or that the technology actually is able to do what they wanted to do originally with their film, and now they're able to kind of go back in there and change it. Which that's another conversation altogether, about whether or not a film that has been put out into the world and has been accepted as a classic should be tampered with at all, or if a filmmaker should be allowed to make as many changes as they want to fulfill their initial vision that maybe they weren't able to fulfill when the film originally came out. But so let's get back to the whole like rewriting part of it. And my process with this, like I said, it's a struggle, but it actually ends up being that I spend a lot of time thinking about the notes. Like whatever notes I get, I spend a lot of time just kind of like mulling them over. Like I don't necessarily like to jump in to applying notes to a script, because as some of you guys know, once you start unraveling your story, it can unravel like a lot. Like if you change one little detail, it could unravel something down the line. And that's happened to me plenty of times, where I thought that a note was really simple, and I thought, yeah, I'll go in there, I'll make that change, no problem. It shouldn't change the story at all. And then I go to make that change, and then I realize that as I'm making that change in the script, that it actually does change something about the character, or I have to find a way in which this simple note can be implemented. But as I'm doing that, it ends up changing something about the scene, which changes something about the entire script. And it's very tricky. It's like, so I tend to kind of like, so since I know that is what is going to happen, I tend to kind of just like step back and mull over the notes and just kind of like let them kind of sink in, as I'm going through the week, and just like just letting them kind of like saturate in the background. And then when I'm able to sit down and apply those notes, then I am like a rocket. I can like go and just get them all done. And like something about having that dormant period where I'm not actually like focused on the script allows me to actually like just go full throttle when I finally sit down to make those changes. And I'm able to kind of like picture what's going on, and I can just the flow in which I'm able to work goes like a lot faster. But it's also a very anxious time for me because, I'm dreading sitting down to make changes to the script because I don't know what is going to happen when these changes are made, and if it's going to cause like a bigger headache, which with that, never make changes on your initial document. Like, always make a copy. And make a copy of a copy. Like, every version of your script, you should have a copy of it before you start making changes. And this is a very basic rule, but it makes, like, once you do that, you're able to not be so worried about the changes that you're making, because you know that you have that the first document, or you have the document before that intact. And so it allows you to just have that freedom to make as many changes as you want. And if they don't work out, you can say, screw it. I'm going to delete this and start all over, because I have the initial script. I have the previous version with me. And that whole technique is useful for anything you're doing, like in writing, editing, whatever it is. Like, always like making a new copy of something that you're going to make a change to, because there are so many times when I kind of like I get in the mode of like I'm going to make these changes, I'm going to revise, and then it doesn't work, or something happens where I just like I wish I would have kept what I had before, but I can't do that because I deleted it or I like all of that scene that actually worked out pretty well is now gone because I made changes to the original script. So but yeah, so I do that, and then if I'm working with a collaborator, I'll send it off to them, and they'll read it and give me notes, and then I'll go through that process again, where I take in what the notes are, kind of like let them sink in, and then I don't want to say I wait till the last minute, but it kind of feels like I do sometimes, where I know that push to deliver on a deadline sometimes brings out some really great stuff when where, because like the fear is kind of like out of it's like, I got to get this done. I can't worry about if it like if this is good or not, or not that, but like I can't worry about the extra stuff. I need to get this done. I need to focus on the story. I need to focus on these notes. And sometimes that brings out some really great things that I didn't know were there, and suddenly I'm seeing them because I'm fully like engaged in getting it done, so to speak. But yeah, not waiting until the last minute, but it feels like I am sometimes, and that's a process that I've found within myself, that it works best, but it's still a process that I don't particularly like about myself, that I can wait until the last minute to get certain things done, but I don't like it because it puts a lot of pressure, and if things come up, it definitely makes it it doesn't make it a fun process if I have to deliver notes and I'm like up until 3:00 in the morning trying to get it done. So anyway, guys, those were my thoughts on like on rewriting and revisions. Like like I said before, like a lot of what we do is psychological, and once we kind of get into the zone of the creative zone, like things move really quickly, but sometimes it can be just so tough to just sit down in the chair and to get it done, because there could potentially go the other way where things are just bad and ideas are not coming, and it's just it can be pretty painful to like not have anything creative happen when you need it to. So anyway, guys, that's it for today. Once again, I hope everybody is being safe, and I hope you're having a good week so far. So wear mask, washing hands, social distance, that whole thing, and we're starting to see some progress towards people getting their like vaccinations and stuff like that, and pretty soon we'll be able to think of this time as like a blip that that changed everything, but that there was obviously some bad stuff, but hopefully you can look at part of it in some positive light, that maybe a change happened in your life that actually like benefited you in the long run, and like for me, I got laid off, and so that was a major shift in my life, because I had a job for like 20 years, and so to suddenly not have any job was like it was very weird, and then also to be in the midst of a like pandemic as well. So but yeah, I'm rambling right now, but anyway, guys, be safe, and I'll talk to you on the next one. And also, if you want to connect with me, I have a email for the podcast. It's tentative.title.with.tim.podcast@gmail.com. Also, I have a Twitter account for the podcast where I post episodes, and that is @title_Tim. And you can find also on the Facebook page, I have a page for the podcast, so you can connect with me there. Looking forward to hearing from all of you, and until then, I'll catch you on the next one.